right, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our webinar today on auto buying. My name is Josh Antis. I am the Financial Education and Community Partnerships Manager for California Coast Credit Union. For those of you who haven't joined us before, welcome. For those of you who have, you probably recognize me. But just want to go over a couple of things before we get started here. Everyone will be placed on mute for the duration of today's presentation. However, we will be monitoring the question and answer box and the chat box. So if you do have any questions for our presenter or for one of us from CalCoast, please feel free to ask and we'll be sure to answer your questions. We also have a survey that will be coming out to you at the end of the presentation and also by email in the coming days. If you could take the time to fill that out, we're going to pick someone out of the group to win a $25 DoorDash gift card. So if you fill out the survey and submit it, you'll be entered into the drawing, and I'll notify the winner in the next couple of days. All right, so also just a heads up that this session is being recorded, and this recording actually will be available on the website that we have set up for you as city employees. We have all of our previously recorded webinars all available there for you, so you can access those anytime. And in regards to that website, I'll put the link in the chat box, but we do have a special site just for you as City of San Diego employees, where you can find all kinds of resources on financial wellness, including our Enrich portal, like I said before, previously recorded webinars. There's also information about all the specials that we have to offer for you. So I'll put the link in the chat. Make sure to check that out anytime you like. It's free. And you can also contact us through that site as well, if need be. All right, so I just want to introduce a couple people today. First, we have Tim Feria. He is with the business development team here at CalCoast, and some of you probably know him and have seen him around at some of your sites or your facilities. He's here to answer any questions that you might have in regards to any of our products and services. So whether it's about becoming a member or obtaining an auto loan or home loans, anything like that, Tim can help you out. Feel free to ask any questions you might have. And with that, I want to go ahead and introduce our presenter today. So we have Kevin Watkins. He's the principal owner of New Cars Inc., an auto buying service that the credit union has been partnered with for, I think it's 30 plus years now. And he's a really great partner of ours. He does these presentations for us and does a really great job. So we're excited to have him here today to talk about auto buying. So with that, I will turn it over to Kevin.
Perfect. Thank you. Thanks, Josh. Appreciate it. Just a couple little things to cover quickly is that if you have any questions, Josh will be monitoring the questions. Please feel free at any point in time just to type in your questions, and Josh will let me know there's a question that's brought up and we'll go through that. Just to let you know, it's about a 30-minute presentation, so we'll move along quite quickly and get you in and out of this before it's time to go to lunch. It's almost that time now. Great, so let's get started. So what are we going to learn? What are we going to talk about in the next 30 minutes? Vehicle buying, in my opinion, is a lot of fun, but you really need to do your homework and get prepared to make an intelligent purchase, to make the proper investment you should make. And I'm going to take a little bit of time and go through that. And that's part is called, how to do your homework. Second part we're going to cover is the finance process, how to understand the financing process, what goes into it, what you should look at, what you should consider. And then last but not least is how the auto buying service works, our company, and how we interface with the credit union to help you save time, hassle, and money in the acquisition of your next car. So let's jump in. What can you afford? You're driving down the road and you see that really, really nice Tesla buzz by and you go, that's really nice. Maybe I'd like to have one of those. Well, maybe it's an $85,000 S model, 75D, and they're $85,000, $90,000 at best. So let's kind of jump in to discuss how do you figure out what works for you. So a little calculation here that's also available on the credit union's website is net income minus expenses equals disposable income. So it's a pretty simple formula. If you're making after taxes, your take home's $3,000 and you have expenses of $2,000, well, you have a net disposable income of $1,000. So you can easily figure that out with your monthly payment on the calculator that is provided at the on the credit union's website. And I believe it's also on our website at newcarsinc.com. So that's a quick way for you to figure out, what the monthly payment is and does it make sense with your disposable income. So now let's talk about research, because a lot of us want to go out and buy a new car or a pre-owned car because we want, need, desire a car, but some of us stop and go, wait a minute, let's do this logically, not emotionally. I can tell you from being a car dealer for 35 years, car dealers would like it if you would just be emotional and come in and go, I love that car, that red Corvette, that new BMW, whatever it is, and I like it. You should slow down and take a moment and do a little research first. So make a list of what's important to you, what items are important. Is Bluetooth important? Is a backup camera important? Is navigation important? Some of the navigation things I would ask is that some of them, when you're driving, you can't even put an address into the system. You have to pull over, stop, and park, put the information in. Is that important to you? So then you may want to have a interface with your navigation system that allows you to handle it from your cell phone, which you can do while you're driving. So again, make that list of what's important. Miles per gallon, safety features, resale value, those are all important items. Narrow it down to side-by-side comparisons. If you want to go out and do some outside research, you can go to a company called TrueCar. TrueCar is a partner with Cal Coast Credit Union and New Cars Inc. We are a certified TrueCar dealer. They will give you bell curves on pricing information. You can compare cars, see other information. At the bottom here, we have a listing of other websites that you can go to, KBB, EPA Gov. There's tons of information out there on the street on different vehicles. What's reasonable selling price in relation to the car's value? What's a great vehicle? Test drives. There's all kinds of information out there. Example, I probably would not look at a 2013 to 2015 Nissan Sentra because they have a CVT transmission, which they've not yet perfected, and it's not running well. The newer ones are better, but the older ones are not. So that's an example of doing your research on the particular car that you're interested in to see if it makes sense for you. Okay, other items to consider: down payment. The more money you have down, the better your monthly payment's going to be. Are you going to trade in or sell your current vehicle? Pre-owned vehicles today are worth more than they've ever been in the 35 years I've been in business because of the shortage of new vehicles out there. Used vehicles are bringing phenomenal money on the market right now. Had a situation with a young lady that bought an Acura from us 2 years ago, put 20,000 miles on it, and the car still worked today what she paid for it as a trade-in on another car. So right now, your current vehicle is probably worth more than you expect. Kind of like your home in Southern California. Your home's worth more too. Everybody knows that. Registration fees, if you have an idea of what your registration is going to be and you want to verify it, you can go to the dmv.ca.gov website and it'll tell you what the fees are. Check with your auto insurance. Many people don't realize it, but if they're acquiring a vehicle, it's an all-wheel drive, that's an uptick fee on your insurance cost because it's an all-wheel drive. So get some quotes, do some homework, do this beforehand. Don't wait till after you've already bought the car and then find out, geez, my insurance is going up a ton just because I got an all-wheel drive car. What's the warranty? Is there a warranty left on the vehicle? Am I getting the full warranty? Is that important to me? So that's all information that you should consider when doing your homework. The mechanical repair coverage, which is a credit union option, which extends the warranty on the car, which makes it comparable to a certified vehicle if you're looking at a pre-owned car. Again, you're just protecting your asset. The credit union also offers a menu of loan product services to help protect your loan and your investment, which is called the Coast Guard Plus program. They have a loss of life, disability, involuntary employment, family leave, and GAP. So all of those are products that will help you depending on how much money you put down, depending on what's important to you to protect your investment and to help protect in case there's an unforeseen situation that happens, not like COVID, but something else that happens because we've already lived through that, unfortunately. And these are just things to protect you moving forward, and the credit union has them at great prices. Finish your homework, determine how much car you can afford, do the math, do the calculation, look at your disposable income. Does it make sense? Are you going to buy the car? Are you going to lease the car? Have you researched some vehicles? Have you added up also the tax and license, the gap coverage? What is your insurance fees going to be? All of those things should be taken in consideration when you're looking at, does this make sense for you to acquire the type of vehicle that you're looking at? So now you're ready to take the next step. What is the next step? Financing. Financing is the next step. Let's talk about financing and how does that pencil into the equation. Underwriting. Well, there's three things that you need to consider when three things the credit union considers when they're looking at underwriting your auto loan. So once you've decided to a vehicle, you can the credit, you can go into a branch now. The branches are back open. You can call info center. You can call lending. You can go online and fill out an application. So you have a lot of different ways that you can go on and fill out an application. Here's what the credit union is looking at. First thing they look at is what's called capacity. Can the borrower afford the debt? Which is, again, looking at the debt to income, payment to income, disposable income. All those ratios come into play. So again, if you remember the $3,000 net income, less your $2,000 in fixed expenses, gives you a disposable income. Then they want to look at what's called PTI, which is your payment to income. How much is your payment on that car? Is it $500 a month to what is your income? So there's some ratios there to look at. All debt on credit report is deemed yours, even if you are a cosigner. So be thinking of that if you're going to look at cosigning for someone on a vehicle, unless, of course, it's your family, your daughters, your son, and most parents will do that, as I have. Second C that they're looking at is character. What's the likelihood of you repaying this on history? They're going to look at your bureau. They're going to look at your history. How long have you been in your home? How long have you been on your job? All of those things are important. So they're looking at the character, stability of the job, collateral. Collateral is the third C they're looking at, which is the vehicle. So what is the relation between the loan amount requested on the vehicle and the value of the collateral? Is there any equity? So for example, let's say you're buying a Toyota Tacoma and the purchase price of the truck is $30,000 and the loan value they've determined based on Kelley Blue Book is $28,000. Well, that's normal for a Toyota pickup truck because they're highly valued, highly priced, high resale value. So in that situation, they may ask you for some down payment. So that's where collateral comes into play on what they're going to loan you on the vehicle, which is called LTV, loan to value. Make sure you're buying an auto for you and not for someone else. If you're buying a vehicle and you're putting your daughter or your son or a family member on it, just be upfront with the credit union and let them know that this is a cosigner type situation. So it's not what's called you're out of trust with the credit union if you don't disclose that. So make sure you're disclosing that. Otherwise, it's called a string purchase. So if you can refinance with the credit union also, if you'd like to refinance with them, all you'll need is a 10-day payoff on your current balance, Kelley Blue Book value. The credit union can help you with that if you don't have access. So you can just go to kbb.com and figure out your own Kelley Blue Book retail value. Find out if you currently have DMV fees that are due on the vehicle. You can do a purchase from a private party. If you need to buy a vehicle and you go out to Craigslist or some other friend of yours that has a vehicle they want to sell, the credit union will walk you through that. Typically, you would do that transaction at a branch once you're pre-approved. Take the vehicle there, have the person that's selling the car come in with a title. Credit union will take over the transaction, handle the loan, and pay the private party or the family member who you're getting the car from and set up a loan for you. So that can all be handled for you. On purchase price of the vehicle, remember that you're going to have about 9.5% to 10% for tax and license on the vehicle. Sales tax depends on which county you live in, and they look that up by the zip code, as do we when we handle that for you. If you have a vehicle that you want to trade in, at that point in time, the question is, are you in positive or negative situation on the equity of the vehicle? Most people today are in a positive equity because of the valuation of vehicles as they're going up, unless you just bought the vehicle in the last couple of months, and you may be in a negative equity situation. So those are all things that they take into consideration when they're figuring out how much of a loan that you need. Also, you can do a lease buyout. So if you leased a vehicle a couple of years ago, best person to buy a used vehicle from, of course, is yourself. So at that point in time, if you want to buy out your lease, you would need the payoff statement at that to figure out what the payoff is, go into the credit union, tell them you'd like to acquire a loan to pay off the vehicle, figure out what the sales tax is on it. At that point in time, the credit union will probably pass the loan right along to you and get you going down the road pretty quickly. They're quite fast at doing that.
Hey, Kevin, we have a question, or actually more of a request that came in. If you could further explain the string purchase.
A string purchase is when you come to a dealership and you're buying a vehicle, but the vehicle is not really for you. You're buying the vehicle for someone else that is not on the title or the registration of the vehicle. So all you're doing is using your credit, your history, your payment history to acquire the vehicle, and then you're giving it to someone else for them to use for another type of business, or they're being an Uber driver or whatever. It's called a string transaction or purchase. Not well liked by credit unions or lenders. If they figure out it's a string purchase, they can cancel the contract and repossess your car. Good, perfect. Get pre-approved with the credit union. That gives you more horsepower and more buying power. So I would suggest before you go shopping, before you go to a dealer, go out and get pre-approved and figure out how much you can. It's the same thing with buying a home. If you're going out and going to go home shopping, you work clout with the person selling the home if you're already pre-approved, if you don't have to go through that process. And the same thing with buying an automobile. If you walk into the dealership and you say, I'm pre-approved, I'm here, I'd like to look at acquiring a vehicle, I'm going to go through my credit union and finance with them. So once you do that, go and get pre-approved. As I previously mentioned, the credit union sends out quarterly pre-approval campaigns. So you may get one of those in the mail that says, hey, you're pre-authorized or approved. The second one is, as I said before, call into the member service center, go online, visit a branch, and the credit union at times has mobile applications tools that you can go on and acquire an auto loan. So once you get that done, you can pick up what's called a drive your deal check from any branch. And that is like walking in with a pre-done auto loan. All you have to do is fill in the dealer's name and the amount you want to get approved for, or the amount you want to acquire the loan for, the vehicle for. They'll give you a pre-approved drive your deal check for either $30,000, $50,000, $70,000 based on what you were approved for at the credit union. But it just gives you more buying power at the dealership. So now let's talk a little bit about what happens when you get to the dealership. So you've made your list, you've done your homework, you figured out what vehicle works best for you. You've gone ahead and looked up all the websites and made sure that you know what your DMV fees are. Now you're going out to the dealership. You're sitting down looking at vehicles with the dealer. Basically, the things to remember is the process is two-step. So the first part is the sales, which is the selection and pricing. The second part is what's called F&I, paperwork process for finance. So remember, don't let your guard down after you do the first part. The first part is you go in, you look at vehicles, you test drive the vehicle, you sit down with the person that's helping you at the dealership. You kind of haggle back and forth on the price of the vehicle, haggle back and forth on the price of the trade-in, and you come into agreement. They're giving you what you want for the trade. You've gotten the right price on the car you want to buy, and you go, oh, that was a pain. That was fun. I like that. I'm so excited to get my car. Realize that the second part of the transaction, which is the paperwork process called F&I, finance and insurance, is where they're going to start trying to sell you again. So things to avoid. Remember, lower payment equals longer term and more interest paid. So remember that when you're looking at what the payments are being offered by the dealer, they're always looking to extend the term. Typically, credit union members are financing for 60, 72, 84 months. Many times now we're seeing dealers that are offering finance contracts at 96 to 120 months. To get a low enough payment that matches what your desired budget is. Well, realize that the lower payment is not always the best for you, because reality is the longer you have that vehicle loan, the more you're going to pay in interest over term. Okay. Deferred down payment versus a post-dated check. This is a problematic thing to get involved in when you're writing a post-dated check to a dealer. If you don't have the money in your account, don't write the check at that point in time. Be aware of leasing options. Leasing is great in certain situations. We help members go through that process all the time. If they own a company and they can use pre-tax dollars to acquire a vehicle and it makes sense with their CPA, telling them to lease a vehicle, that's great. If you're just leasing a vehicle to get that, champagne taste and beer budget, you want to drive that BMW, but you want the payment of a Camry, that's probably not the best thing to look into. The reason is, in my opinion, just my opinion, is leasing is the most expensive way to acquire a vehicle. Paying cash is the least expensive. Financing at your credit union is second. And by far a distant third is financing a vehicle through a lease transaction, because you're only paying the vehicle down 50%. You're paying a higher interest every single month on that vehicle. So it is the most expensive way. But in some cases, based on business and your CPA's recommendations, it makes sense. So something to look at. Consider the cost of dealer products: VIN etching, low jack, alarm, paint and fabric, gap, service contracts. All of these are wonderful products at the right price point. When the value and price line up, then it's a good deal. But what we're seeing is that many times dealers are charging $9.95, $12.95 for a paint sealant. That's a little expensive. I mean, a good ceramic coating should cost around $600-700 for a complete ceramic coating on a vehicle. A good extended warranty should be somewhere under $2,000 on most vehicles. And we're seeing extended warranties out there at $29.95 to $49.95. Low jack makes sense. Some sort of a tracking system on your car makes sense at a $700-800 price point. At $1,500, it just gets to be where the price and value don't line up. So just be careful. Once you've bought the car and you think you're all done and you go into the F&I department, they're going to be hitting you with all these different items. So keep a sharp eye and think about, geez, how is this going to affect my monthly payment? Because everything you add is going to add to the monthly payment that you've already agreed upon in the sales process. So keep that in mind. Low rate versus rebate. Rebates are only offered through the dealership. So here's something to talk about real quick. Many people say that, boy, they were offering me 0% financing on an auto loan. Wow, that's the best it can get. Not really, because if you go to your credit union and let's say you have an 800 score or 750 score and you qualify for a 2.49 interest rate, you buy the vehicle through New Cars Inc. and you get a 0.5% off that auto rate. So now you're at 1.9 and they tell you that the rebate is $3,500. Well, on a 60-month term loan, you will pay less than $3,500 in interest on that. So it would make sense to take the $3,500 rebate and finance at your credit union. You'd be money ahead than foregoing the $3,500 rebate and financing at 0%. So just because they tell you 0% is as good as it's going to get, that's not the true math of the equation. The true math is to sit down and calculate that in advance and look at, okay, what is the interest rate over term if I finance with my credit union, and how does that compute versus the current money I can receive in the way of a rebate on a vehicle? We're seeing some astronomical rebates out there. We just delivered a new Jeep hybrid the other day that had $9,000 in rebates on the vehicle, on a brand new 2021 hybrid Jeep. So there's some phenomenal deals out there, and that makes way more sense than giving up all that rebate and taking 0% financing. Take the $9,000 rebate, price the vehicle through us, and finance at the credit union. That's a smart way to go. Just my opinion, though. So also no option sales contract, you may request a one pay. So what that says is that when you get done negotiating, if you want to go back to your credit union and finance with the credit union, you should ask for a one pay contract. That's what you'll take back to the credit union or scan into the credit union for them to calculate your loan docs. Cool. Got to get done here. Got 5 more minutes. So let's quickly talk about what is New Cars Inc. and what's our relationship. I'm a local guy, raised in El Cajon, graduated San Diego State, started this company with my wife in 1986. We've been with Cal Coast Credit Union for over 32 years. Of the 35 years we've been in business, we've helped over 85,000 folks buy, lease, all makes and models of both new and pre-owned cars. Bottom line goal is to save you time, hassle, and money on the process. We do everything over the telephone and internet. You're welcome to come to our corporate building on the corner of 73rd and El Cajon Boulevard in San Diego and test drive some of our pre-owned vehicles. But majority of the time, we are going out to the member's home or branch or office and delivering both brand new and pre-owned vehicles. So we've been doing this since the beginning of time, at least the time of our business. So that's our goal, is to go out there and make it easy, especially through this last year. It's been difficult. We've been doing, white glove, social distancing, wiping down the cars, doing everything we can to make sure that none of our folks get near anyone that we're doing business with to help them buy a car. Questions? Anything up there for us at this point in time, Josh, that we can answer?
I think we'll give it a little bit of time to see if anyone submits any questions. We don't have any. Oh, wait a minute. We just had one come in. It says, can you please go over lemon law and the process?
Lemon law is, I'm probably not as well versed in lemon law. I think we've been fortunate, and we've only had 1 or 2 vehicles in 35 years that have been lemon lawed, and both of them were brand new vehicles. As I understand it, on the new vehicle side, lemon law comes into play if you have a repeat repair on a particular vehicle more than, I think, 2 or 3 times. Then you can go to the dealership and claim this as a lemon law vehicle because it's something that cannot be repaired. On the new car side, typically you have to get what's called the zone rep involved. So if you're going back to Honda or Toyota or Ford, and you're claiming that we'd like to have this car considered as a lemon law buyback, then you would ask for the zone rep. The zone rep would come out and meet with you. He is the representative from the manufacturer that will come out and look at the vehicle and help you determine whether it's a lemon law type vehicle or not. Many times it makes sense to get an attorney involved to help you negotiate that process, but typically they're going to take the vehicle back and refund you your money or provide an alternative vehicle for you. But again, I'm not an attorney. I'm not an attorney spokesperson, and I can't give you true information on this other than what I know firsthand. And I'm not well versed in it because we just don't deal in a lot of lemon law situations. But I have a feeling you can find a lot about it on the internet.
All right. Thanks, Kevin. Also, question about the microchip shortage. Do we know when the supply will increase? Has there been any news on when we'll see the shortage end?
Well, currently, it's about as bad as it's going to get, we believe. We're seeing that dealers are very, very short on vehicles. Dealers that typically have large Toyota dealerships, as an example, that typically have between 300 and 500 cars are down to 30 or 40 cars in inventory. And they have these huge allocations of cars that are coming, but they're not here yet because they're still sitting at the port because of the chips are not available at this point in time. Probably we're not going to see this get much better until middle of July. And unfortunately, it's also affecting the used car prices, because when dealers cannot get new vehicles for their inventory, they're going out and buying pre-owned vehicles, and it's driving the price up. In addition, the daily rental car companies, Hertz, Avis, Enterprise, they too are short on vehicles because of the shortage of new vehicles. So they're going out and buying pre-owned vehicles, driving up the market, driving up the price of those vehicles, because they want to have vehicles for you to be able to rent this summer to go on your vacations. So it's unprecedented. I mean, a year ago, we had the situation where the pandemic came out and everyone had vehicles. And of course, no one was buying vehicles at that point in time. Year later, we're coming to the end of the pandemic. Everyone's getting vaccinated. Everyone's getting better. And now we're short on vehicles. So unfortunately, it's just a function of the fact that manufacturers pulled back on ordering parts for vehicles during the beginning of the pandemic because they had no idea the predictability of supply and demand of vehicles at that point in time. And it's just taking time for the people that are making those parts to ramp back up and get the supply back up so we can finish delivery of new vehicles. I would suggest it's going to get better, like I said, probably in the middle of July. Right now, vehicles, if you can hold off on buying a vehicle for 45 days, I would suggest you do that. If you need a vehicle today, we're being pretty successful in scouting and finding vehicles for members. Unfortunately, it's just supply and demand, which dictates the price of those cars at this point in time, and hoping it will get better soon. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, that was great. Thank you, Kevin. Lots of questions coming in now. One question was if you could discuss the one pay option to get a car, then go finance with a credit union.
Okay, so when a dealership does the financing on the vehicle, it's called a finance contract. So when they do that, they're going to put on the top of the finance contract, which is called the 553, that really long purchase order, they're going to put up there the monthly payments, the term, the total of interest. When you sign that, that's like signing loan docs on buying a vehicle and financing with the lender. A one-pay contract is what you want to ask for if you want to go back to the credit union, where they don't put any of that information up there. So they're not going to put the monthly payments, the term, the total of interest. They're just going to say you owe $26,385 and you have 10 days to come pay us for this car. That's what you want, which is called a one-pay contract, to take to the credit union to get your loan funded through the credit union. The credit union will give you a drive your deal check to take back to the dealer, or they will just mail them a check. So when you want to finance with the credit union, you've already gotten your pre-approval, go into the dealership and ask for a one-pay contract.
All right. I think my parents actually just did that recently. It worked really well with CalCoast, actually. So
perfect.
Any words of caution for buying from a private seller?
There's some great deals out there from private sellers. You just have to do your due diligence. If you're going to a private seller, I would want to make sure that they've had some time of ownership on the vehicle. What we're seeing out there a lot is people that are in the business of buying and selling cars. We call them flippers, that are doing this, that they're not properly licensed and bonded. We are licensed and bonded by the state of California. We have to go through ongoing training. We have to remit sales tax every single month. We have to go to DMV and do the licensing for you. So using a franchise or a licensed dealer in California will give you a lot of comfort that they've been vetted and they know what they're doing, and you're going to get the title on the vehicle. So my fear on buying from a private party is do you really know what you're getting? Will they allow you to take the vehicle to your mechanic to have it inspected? If you have a trade-in, of course, they don't want your trade-in. If you need help with financing, they're not there to help you with financing. But if you find the little car on the corner that was owned by little old lady from Pasadena, and it's, her family's car, and she stopped driving, it's a great car. It's a 2014 Toyota Camry with 60,000 miles on it. It's been in her family for a long time. You pull a Carfax, you can see all the records, and it's a great buy. There's some value there. Then I would highly consider buying that vehicle. If not, they haven't owned the car for a long period of time, it doesn't show the service records on the Carfax, then that would, to me, throw up a red light, and I would probably look somewhere else to buy a car.
All right. Question about negotiation tactics. Other than researching price beforehand, do you have suggestions in negotiating?
Do your homework. Don't go in and just use your heart to help you buy the car. Do some homework, do some logical looking at comparisons of what vehicles are selling for. I think TrueCar is a great source for that. TrueCar gives you a bell curve on what is a good versus great price on the vehicle. One of the things to realize is that if you're looking at a new car, and let's just pick any make or model of new car, whether it's a Honda Accord, Toyota Camry, Toyota Tundra, whatever the vehicle is, or a Ford Ranger, every single franchise dealer out there paid the exact same price for that vehicle. So the manufacturers don't give better prices to dealers that do more volume. So if you're looking at comparing a Penske Ford dealership to an El Cajon Ford dealership, as an example, because those are in my backyard, they both paid the same exact price for the car. And in reality, the difference between cost and MSRP on a car today is typically 3 to 5%. So at best, the difference between a really good negotiator and a bad negotiator is only going to be 1 or 2% at best on a vehicle. So when people think they're going to go in and buy a $35,000 or $40,000 vehicle as a new vehicle and get $5,000 difference from one dealership to the next, it's not going to happen. So, if your heart's set on a particular vehicle and you have a budget to pay for the vehicle, just be upfront with the dealership and say, look, this is my budget. This is what I can afford. If I can buy the vehicle, I'd love to buy it. If not, I'll keep looking and find something else that makes sense. And so it's good to go in with the idea that, if you have to walk away, you're going to walk away. If you don't get to the budget number that makes sense for you, then go find something else. Find a vehicle with higher miles, with less equipment. But the reality is the vehicles that have low mileage, all the equipment, great Carfax, best color, aren't the lowest price. They're the highest price. So it just depends what's important to you, because value and price have to line up for it to make sense for you.
All right. Let's see. That was the questions there. Let's go to the question and answer section here. What's your opinion about companies like Carvana for buying pre-owned vehicles?
I think they're great. They sell a lot of automobiles. Carvana's claim to fame, as I understand their model, and I've looked at it a little bit, is they deliver vehicles to your home. So that's important. And I think that's something you should really consider today with the current environment that we're in. But the bottom line is that you have to go out and kick tires on a vehicle. If you're going to buy a vehicle and have it brought to your home and be okay with taking delivery of it without doing any due diligence, without driving the car, without sitting in it, without playing with the radio, those are some things that, maybe in the future, this is going to be the way that cars are bought and sold. But today, the majority of vehicles out there are sold at franchise new car dealers that have brick and mortar facilities for you to go in and look at vehicles, test drive vehicles, kick tires, compare models, talk to a skilled salesperson who knows just that line make of vehicles. So I think there's some good value to that. But, I'm just old school. I like to go kick tires and to kind of test drive and see what cars make sense. I've done this just recently with my two daughters, helping them pick out vehicles. And we spent with each of them a day going around and test driving and figuring out, boy, what do they really like? And what they found out is what they thought they wanted is not what they ended up with, because the ergonomics of the car didn't make sense to them. They didn't like the way the backup camera worked. They didn't like the interface of the Bluetooth. They didn't like the fact that the navigation system meant you had to have the car in park to load information into it. So those are all things that, I think you can learn firsthand by kicking tires and going out and doing some shopping on your own. If you know for a fact exactly what you want a 2018 Honda Accord 4-door LX in blue with a moonroof and leather interior, which would make it an EXL. They're all the same. Then maybe, in my opinion, Carvana would work, because you don't feel like going out to the dealer. You just want to have them delivered to your home. So in some instances, I think there's a value for Carvana, and they must be doing something right. They're selling a heck of a lot of vehicles in this market.
Perfect. All right. And last question for now. For used passenger vans, is the interest rate higher? And if it is, why is that?
I don't believe that used passenger vans are higher. I mean, we delivered a brand new Pacifica this morning to some members of Cal Coast. We just got back from Alpine, where we just dropped off the vehicle. I don't believe that they are higher. I think you may get into a discrepancy on the interest rate if it's a commercial use type vehicle. So if you're going to be using it to go out and do DoorDash or one of the delivery services out there, then in that situation, you would need to check with a credit union for that. But if you're going out and saying, hey, I want to buy a 7-passenger, Dodge Caravan, Chrysler minivan, I don't believe the interest rates would be any higher for that particular vehicle.
All right. I don't see any other questions coming in right now, but if you do have any additional questions, please contact us. You have the New Cars Inc. info on screen there if you'd like to contact New Cars Inc. I also did place the link in our chat that will take you to the website, or to our website, that highlights the section on our partnership with New Cars Inc. and the discount you can get by utilizing their services. And I also have put into the chat Tim Ferria's contact information. So if you'd like to talk with him about financing a new or pre-owned vehicle, we can help you out. But in the meantime, I think we'll go ahead and wrap things up. I want to thank everyone for coming today. And thank you, Kevin, for presenting. It was a lot of great information and for answering all the questions. Really great engagement overall. And I think we all learned something. I know every time I see your presentation, I learned something new. So appreciate you being with us today. And also thank you, Tim, for being here as well. So keep an eye out for our next webinar. We'll have an email coming out. We're going to do a session on investing next month. So watch your email inbox, and you should get the information on that soon. Otherwise, everyone stay safe out there, stay healthy, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you
so much.
Appreciate the opportunity. Have a great day.